Smelling salts, ammonia, slaps across the face, slaps on the back prior to a lift. You've probably seen those in videos. These crazy big gorilla type lifters right before getting on the platform, before lifting their really heavy PRs. So I want to talk about smelling the ammonia. So ammonia basically is a smelling salt that really activates the nervous system and wakes you up dramatically, really, really quickly. So basically it arouses your central nervous system dramatically. And people like to use ammonia or smelling salts right before their last lifts on the platform, it's actually a really good point to talk about. Ammonia should only be used, let's put ammonia on the side, let's just use high arousal. High arousal should only be used for a very difficult task that demands a lot of violence, aggressivity, like that last lift to get that PR on the platform. And I see too many people too often using ammonia or smelling salts for their first lift, their opener, or even in the gym, something that they can triple. You know, it's important to understand that the higher the arousal, the higher the tunnel vision will become. And when I say tunnel vision, I mean the narrowness of a viewpoint, which can lead to loss of information. Let's take for a golfer, for example. So a golfer, if a golfer has too much tunnel vision before making that hit, he'll most probably lose information like the strength of the winds, how far the ball is, how the grass feels. I'm not a golfer, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. For an elite lifter, an experienced lifter that has a lot of squatting, benching, and deadlifting under their belt, doing those tasks are they're not so complex. They've done it over and over. They have a lot of experience with them. So the intellectual demand is not there as much as a golfer would have, trying to focus on all these different things to make a proper hit. So all that to say, the higher the arousal, the higher the tunnel vision is. So for an experienced lifter, for a last lift on the platform, the smelling salt, ammonia, high arousal is good. For a beginner or even intermediate lifter, high arousals are not always encouraged. I wouldn't suggest it all the time. I would for a last lift if you really want to go for an all-out lift, but you have to take under consideration that going to a meet is stressful. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, too many things that can go wrong. You can end up, you know, only having 15 minutes to warm up, or just so many things can go wrong. You can forget your food at home. You don't have enough time to eat between your lifts. So it's really important to keep the high arousal for the last lift. And for beginners, people that don't have that much experience in lifting, the intellectual demand is actually pretty high because they have to look at the judge, they have to wait for the commands. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, so they have to pay attention to all these things on top of performing on their lifts, on the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. All that being said, if you're not an experienced, a veteran elite lifter, wait for the high arousal, wait for the ammonia. Don't even use it for your first, even on your second lift. Wait for the third one if you actually really want to use it. It actually might be better for some of those beginner lifters to actually calm their nerves down in order to not have such a tunnel vision. You know, you don't want to get the lift up and wait for the rack command. Okay, that happens pretty often, and it's really frustrating, especially when you're beating your PRs. So that being said, keep the high arousal, keep the ammonia either for your last lift or not even at your first competitions.